Hello and welcome back to We Are Strategists. If you have seen any of my previous videos, you already know that I think SWOT is a terrible tool for strategic planning. I think it's a popular tool and simple, but it also usually leads to short-term thinking and leaves companies vulnerable to the competition. So today I want to show you a better approach to strategic planning. This structured method not only prepares your organization for the future, but also uncovers hidden opportunities and potential threats. Did you know that a lightning strike led to the downfall of a major player in the mobile phone industry? What if better strategic skills amongst its employees would have prevented the cascade of events that led to the withdrawal from the market? In this video, I will show you the exact steps for a strategic approach to help your employees enhance their situational awareness and develop adaptable skills. This can transform your strategic process and ensure long-term success for your business. Stay tuned to discover the tools you need to navigate uncertainties and drive sustainable growth. On the 17th of March 2000, a lightning strike caused a small fire at a Philips semiconductor plant in New Mexico. The fire was minor. In fact, it was so insignificant that it wasn't even reported in the local news. The products that were being made at the plant at the time were silicon chips for mobile phones. Philips quickly realized that some of the chips that were in production were no longer fit for purpose, and so they informed their customers, Ericsson and Nokia, that they should expect a short delay of a couple of weeks for the delivery of their chips. What unfolded next really is spectacular. At Ericsson, the purchasing manager checked the inventory and found that there would be no problem with their chips, as they had enough stock for the next few weeks. He treated the situation as a minor supply chain issue. What Ericsson didn't know was that soot from the fire had contaminated a much larger area than Philips had initially thought. This included the clean rooms, which usually can only have one dust particle per 100 liters of air. Silicon chips only function properly if they're produced without even the tiniest contamination, and so production had to be stopped to rebuild this uncontaminated environment, and this took months. At Nokia, meanwhile, the information about the small fire was received very differently. Remember, Nokia received the same information as Ericsson, a phone call that assured them that only current stock was affected by an insignificant fire. But at Nokia, this set off alarm bells. 5 years earlier, Nokia had introduced an enhanced monitoring process because it was realized that this part of the business was critical. And Nokia had a culture of discussing possible problems, so it was not just the procurement manager that was made aware. This was escalated up the chain of command. Next, Nokia took 3 important steps. First, they arranged to buy all the remaining chips from Philips. Second, they adapted their own technology to accommodate chips from alternative suppliers. And third, they bought all the remaining chips from 2 alternative suppliers. By early April, Ericsson finally came to realize the magnitude of the problem, but by then they had very few options left. Nokia had gone into battle before Ericsson even realized the battle was on. Because Ericsson lacked these critical chips, it delayed the planned launch of a next-generation phone, which resulted in $400 million worth in lost revenue. The following year, Ericsson exited the mobile phone market. So what can we learn from this story? How can you prepare your employees to respond to external stimuli more like Nokia when the situation arises? Here is my 5-step approach to creating better strategy by getting out of your heads and thinking bigger. And it starts with step 1. Start with an environmental analysis. To do that, you can use the PESTLE framework. PESTLE stands for political, economic, social, technological, environmental and legal. Starting here allows you to consider all critical factors and ensures that nothing is left out. You can use megatrends reports from major consulting firms like PwC, which you can get for free. But importantly, ask your employees to partake in the strategy meeting and to bring their own insights to the table. Using Pestle makes sure that you have a broad view of the external environment. Megatrends reports make sure that you start with a focus on the future and are aware of the overarching shifts that will affect everyone. And the gut feel of your employees connects your organization to society. This can be via their exposure to social media or friends and family, who can often provide a really useful guide because they are trusted but might see the world from a completely different perspective to you. It's worth remembering that the way we perceive the world is different for different people. So by combining external reports with the gut feel of your employees, you give yourself a better chance of spotting important opportunities that your competition might miss. Step 2. Find relevant key trends. Involving a group of diverse individuals in your organization, extract trends that are relevant to you. Make sure that everyone gets a say and keep to a specific time, or else you might find discussions going off topic. The important thing here is to record any trends you feel apply to you. Don't filter anything out at this point. These are potential opportunities that you will work with going forward. In the mid-1990s, Nokia was very engaged in team strategy. Christian Stadler wrote about it in an excellent book he co-authored called Open Strategy: Mastering Disruption from Outside the C-Suite. In the book, he talks about a time he led Nokia through a similar strategy process to the one I'm describing here. Step 3. Sort the list of key trends into themes. Sorting the key trends into themes helps organize the information systematically. This will help you to create a clearer, more actionable picture. Having a long list of key trends is far too unwieldy to take action directly. Instead, what you want to do is to consider the interdependency of trends and identify opposing ideas. As before, don't throw out any information. Sort it into groups to help with visualization. You will end up with a visual aid that shows different opportunities as idea pools. For these pools, the bigger the size, the more idea-rich the areas will be and the greater the opportunities. Step 4. Create thematic scenarios using storytelling. Ideally, you want to end up with about 5 sentences for each chosen scenario. Using storytelling at this point makes complex information more relatable and easier to understand. You want to be able to discuss potential futures and their implications, and you want employees to contribute their nuanced insights if they have them. This will help you develop better strategies and planning. You might feel awkward to create these because we're often not using stories as a tool in business. But stories really help because they create vivid images in your heads, which will help us respond to situations. Step 5. The final step is to use a modified toast analysis to create responses to your possible futures thinking. This step is where your information-rich scenarios meet your knowledge of your internal capabilities. A typical toast analysis lists threats and opportunities and asks what your organization's response would be from a position of strength or weakness. In a modified toast analysis, you replace the threats and opportunities with scenarios. You simply plot your scenarios along the top and generate your strategic options for each strength and weakness that you have identified for your organization. When you look at what you arrive after going through the 5 steps, you will have a list of strategic options, all of them responses to situations in the environment. These responses directly translate into actions for your strategic plan. And because we went through the effort of creating story-based scenarios, we have a much better feel for how the pieces fit together and in which time frame. The top half shows you how you can positively plan for the future. There will be focus on the best opportunities and many ideas to innovate, and they will fit together like a tightly woven fabric and not be loose threads of ideas. Overall, the exercise should lead to innovation which is much more attuned to the external environment rather than fixating on the internal capabilities, which is always a danger with a SWOT analysis. The bottom half essentially contains your vulnerabilities, and with it your risk mitigation strategies. If Ericsson had done this exercise, almost regardless of the potential threat, fire, flood, earthquake, pandemic, war, they would have seen in one of their scenarios that relying on a single supplier for an essential component without a mitigation strategy would be crazy. Clearly, Nokia thought about it, and their mitigation strategy was to think about how to incorporate chips from other suppliers should the need arise. Using something like this 5-step strategy process would have allowed Nokia to think beyond simple risk mitigation and turn a bad situation into a perfectly executed ploy. Often ploys can't be planned ahead because opportunities are too fleeting, but if everyone is on the same page and you don't need to waste time discussing the issue at hand, you can respond very quickly and strategically. In my opinion, involving a wide range of employees in strategy formulation is never a waste of time. By involving many employees from diverse backgrounds and with specialist knowledge, we create better communication between different disciplines. And because we can see that there are many possible responses to various scenarios, the exercise will lead to a more adaptable collective mindset in your employees. For Nokia, having this culture of openly discussing strategy paid off big time. But as Nokia found out, a single victory is not enough. Over time, the enthusiasm for open strategy waned, and the more typical defensive strategies took over. When Apple entered the market in 2007 and performed better at every strategic theme that had been identified years earlier, Nokia was asleep at the wheel. To finish, let me show you this clip from Steve Jobs, which was recorded in 2005.
Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
We started with gut and external data and turned these into relevant key trends, sorted them according to size, turned them into feature-rich scenarios, and only then considered our strengths and weaknesses. While Steve Jobs may not have had a formal process, I would like to propose a team approach which wires together lots of gut feelings and will give employees the agency to take decisive actions. If you like this video, please press the like button. It would really help me enormously. And remember, strategy is never done and dusted. Every strategic maneuver should leave you in a better position than you were in before. In neuroscience, they say brain cells that fire together wire together. If you want more resilience, sharper thinking, and better responses, you need to involve your employees in strategy to wire their brains together. You know what I always say, alone you are smart, but together we are strategists and we grow.